Tonight, a 5 Eyewitness News special report. A racial reality check in Minnesota.
He said, you people are always coming in here with fake checks.
Who do you think he meant?
Black people.
Don't say anything stupid, because you're just going to get arrested for it, all right?
Viral moments caught on video and sometimes even on live TV.
Do you mind telling me why I'm under arrest, sir?
At the epicenter of calls for reform,
justice for all of the lives.
5 Investigates asks, what has really changed?
There is this culture that encourages misconduct and encourages cover-up.
This is Minnesota. This is not who we are.
Race, reform, reality. Good evening. I'm Brandy Powell. In the 2 years since the murder of George Floyd, Minnesota has been at the center of what some call a racial reckoning in the United States, but it doesn't feel that way for everyone who lives here. Right now, the Department of Justice is investigating the city of Minneapolis and its police force. The State Department of Human Rights just found that they've engaged in a pattern of discrimination for years. Our 5 Investigates team spent the past year uncovering more cases of alleged discrimination, broken promises to make changes, and reforms undermined behind the scenes. And it's not just police departments under scrutiny. We begin tonight with Eric Rasmussen and his 6-month investigation of Minnesota-based U.S. Bank. And Eric, this all started with body camera video showing what happened when a young black man tried to cash his paycheck.
Brandy, 23-year-old Joe Morrow was falsely accused of fraud and handcuffed when he walked into a U.S. Bank branch in Columbia Heights. U.S. Bank repeatedly told us race had nothing to do with it. But that all changed after we obtained video of the incident that's now been viewed millions of times around the world. When police got the call to a busy U.S. Bank branch in Columbia Heights last year, a call for a fraudulent check and a suspect posing a threat.
How's it going?
This is how they found 23-year-old Mississippi native Joe Morrow sitting in a chair in the bank manager's office, leaning back with his hands folded. Police blurred out branch manager John Asquith, as state law requires, because he did not want us to see or hear him in the video. Morrow wanted everyone to know what happened.
I just got through working like 12 hours, I think.
His job at UNFI, a grocery supplier better known as Super Value in Hopkins. Closer to home, Morrow stopped here at U.S. Bank in Columbia Heights to cash his paycheck for $900. Despite having an account, that simple transaction was anything but.
They was all looking at me and just staring at me. And then looking at the check and then staring at me again. I'm like, now I'm already knowing like what they thinking, the check fake. The manager, he came over and said, Joe Morrow, your check fake. And I said, what? He said, you people are always coming in here with fake checks.
Who do you think he meant?
Black people.
I work there, bro. And I'm a recruit too, bro.
Morrow continued pleading his case with Police Sergeant Justin Pletcher in the room. Morrow's claim of racial profiling immediately met with this warning.
Joe, I need you to calm down, first of all, okay? Don't say anything stupid, because you're just going to get arrested for it. All right.
Still sitting in the chair as the sergeant held his ID and his check, Morrow insisted it was the bank who owed him an explanation.
They called me in front of everybody talking about this is a fake check. That ain't no fake check. I work there.
We could confirm that.
2 minutes later,
What's his name?
Joe.
a second officer arrives and the bank manager asks police to take Morrow to an adjacent office.
The manager told the officer, like, can you get him out of my office? He might touch anything on my desk. I'm like, what? That's when I got super mad, like, what? I'm gonna touch something on your desk.
Joe.
That anger only visible for a second.
Joe, let's go over there, man.
When he complies with officers' orders and stands up.
Okay, let's handcuff him.
A split second, Morrow says he'll never forget.
And like, definitely when I got handcuffed and stuff, everybody looking like, when I'm coming out of his office, I was handcuffed, so people looking.
How did that make you feel?
Like crazy, like I'm a criminal or something, like I'm doing like something bad, like I actually came here with a fake check.
In his report, the sergeant later wrote that Morrow flexed at John, the bank manager, in a threatening manner.
I didn't threaten him. I got up, like, you know, in the like, you know, like a mad.
Do you have anything on you that could hurt, harm, hopefully in any way?
Still handcuffed, Morrow offered more evidence of his innocence.
I got the check stub, and Neil said what day it started and all that, and how many hours I worked, all that. I could have came here and showed them that.
According to the police report, the bank manager said he'd received a lot of fraudulent checks using the UNFI logo. Morrow says the manager claimed he already called the company and confirmed the check was fake.
So who do we need to call?
But this body camera video shows the bank manager did not actually make that critical call until after Morrow was already in handcuffs.
So it's a real, the check number's real.
Morrow's employer confirmed the check was in fact real.
There's no question in my man, if he'd been white, this would never happen.
5 Investigate showed the video to a community leader.
Are you seeing that okay?
I am.
The founder of a nationally recognized implicit bias training program for police.
But this is Minnesota. This is not who we are.
And University of Minnesota professor Samuel Myers Jr. In 2015, he authored this study of discriminatory practices at banks in the Twin Cities, and he's focused on racial disparities in financial transactions for 35 years.
I wish I could say that this was an apparition. I wish we could say that this was an outlier. But it happens a lot.
Myers, who is deaf,
So this is it here.
watched the body camera video with us over Zoom with the assistance of captioning.
We as Black people are aware that these things happen at banks, at grocery stores, at supermarkets. This is a classic example of instances where things escalated beyond what they needed to escalate to.
Okay, Joe, let's get these cuffs up.
But Morrow's ordeal did not end when the handcuffs came off.
Joe, can I talk to you man to man real quick?
For more than 10 minutes, Morrow remained in this office.
They're making fake checks with that logo on it, right?
Sergeant Pletcher did most of the talking.
So what the branch manager has to do is call and make sure it's a good check. I need you to stay calm for that, okay? Because when you start acting like this, it makes you look even guilty.
No, not guilty.
No, I know. I'm saying, but when you start getting upset and irate, it makes you look guilty.
Well, you're acting guilty. And so the question is, what is acting guilty? Tell me, what is acting guilty? I'm sorry, but this is who I am. You blame me here before creating the racism that he feels.
Columbia Heights police declined our request for an interview, but in a statement, Chief Lenny Austin said his department reviewed the incident and found the officers' actions were reasonable and they conducted themselves professionally.
And if you feel it's a racist thing, okay, handle it different.
Sergeant Pletcher wouldn't go on the record with us, but still sent us links to network news programs.
If I'm not on the same side as my community, then I'm failing them and I'm failing this badge.
He was praised on national TV for how he handled a call involving a black health inspector 2 days after the death of George Floyd.
I think we need more police officers to speak up.
But Pletcher is not talking about this video that few have seen until now.
There are going to be plenty of people, I imagine, who will say, this officer acted admirably. He spoke calmly. He told them to calm down.
Plenty of white people. I'm looking through the lens of a black man who dealt with too many of these cases.
Was the flinching, so-called flinching, visible in the video?
Well, I'll take you back to it. Lori Friedel is a professor at the University of South Florida and the founder of the Fair and Impartial Policing Training Program.
I did not discern anything in the video that showed Mr. Morrow as being threatening. Maybe they saw things that I did not see, or maybe this could be related to one of the implicit associations that's well documented in the research. And that research shows that many of us see more threat in people of color.
In October, U.S. Bank declined our request to interview manager Asquith or anyone else with the bank, and instead sent us this statement saying, U.S. Bank is committed to fairness toward everyone we serve, regardless of race, adding, we dispute the facts as they're being portrayed to you. 2 weeks later, the bank quietly reached an undisclosed settlement, meaning no one with U.S. Bank or Morrow can ever talk about what happened here again.
Hey, Joe, man. I'm sorry you had to go through this, man.
Any additional apology, now confidential.
Keep working hard.
The sergeant in that video has since resigned. I can tell you, though, Brandy, the branch manager still lists himself as an employee online.
You know, Eric, we have now heard from U.S. Bank about all of this.
We have. And yes, now remember, U.S. Bank initially denied that Joe Morrow's race played any factor with how he was treated. But 3 days after our report first aired, CEO Andy Cecere publicly apologized. In this letter right here, he pledged to listen and learn from the community, Brandy. And since then, we've heard from people all across the country sharing their stories of banking while black. Our investigation also uncovered allegations of discrimination from employees of U.S. Bank and another incident here in the Twin Cities.
Hold on. Hey!
When a police officer chased him down in a U.S. Bank parking lot in December.
You know, I wasn't really scared. I was just confused.
Peter Wogba says he was trying to wrap up some business before this branch in Bloomington closed early on a Saturday.
Hi!
Hello.
Frank, were you just in there wanting a cashier's check?
Yes.
The money for that cashier's check, $30,000, coming from Wogba's latest deal. In the business of flipping houses since coming to Minnesota from Liberia, Wogba had just closed on the sale of this property in Richfield.
So when I got to the bank on Friday, they said, oh, the money was not available. So the guy told me come by tomorrow.
When Wogba returned here the next day, tellers denied him again.
I said, well, I'm not going to leave. I know you guys are going to be closing soon, but I'm not going to leave until I get the money.
How did they react when you said, I'm not going to leave?
You know, when I said that, I was just trying to talk to them. The lady said, oh, you have to calm down.
Calm down. The same command given to Joe Morrow.
Joe, I need you to calm down. First of all, okay?
Days after 5 Investigates report sparked national outrage, U.S. Bank CEO Andy Cecere apologized and promised reforms.
I would like to see them back it up. I would like to see them back it up.
U.S. Bank CEO still won't sit down with us for an interview. In a statement, the company said it's launching training for de-escalation and conflict resolution. But 5 Investigates found some of U.S. Bank's own employees also describe a culture of discrimination reaching the highest levels of the company.
U.S. Bank has a history of this. There's just too many incidents that shows that maybe this is something that's systemic with them.
John Spann worked for U.S. Bank for 24 years in Illinois. Starting as a teller in the 1990s, Spann worked his way up to become an underwriter for car loans. He reported harassment and racial discrimination to U.S. Bank Human Resources, describing in a complaint what a new manager said to him after taking over his region in 2018.
Every weekend, and I'm telling you, every Friday before the weekend, he would stop by my desk and say, don't go to jail and don't beat your wife.
Spann even reached out to U.S. Bank CEO in response to this company-wide email after the police killing of George Floyd. Andy Cecere wrote, we have to do better and allow ourselves to be uncomfortable so we can have courageous conversations.
I didn't ask him to make a decision to reprimand anybody. All I asked is for the benefit of the doubt to look into what I was saying was going on.
What kind of response did you get?
Silence. No email, no response, no nothing.
Less than 2 months later, Spann was fired. Now he's among those suing U.S. Bank. A longtime manager from Minnesota filed this lawsuit accusing U.S. Bank of putting up a false facade of being interested in fostering diversity.
Hold on. Hey!
Wogba says U.S. Bank apologized to him after we started asking questions about this incident.
Do you have a driver's license with you real quick, sir?
Yeah.
Bank records confirm there was more than enough money available for that $30,000 withdrawal.
I don't know what the confusion was, but it didn't go well, apparently. And
No, I mean, I was a little upset because, tell me the truth. Tell me, okay, where should I go? If you can't sign the money because...
I don't know much about banking. You're free to leave, though?
Less than 15 minutes later, Wogba got his cashier's check from another U.S. Bank branch in Bloomington.
You look back on it, I mean, do you feel like you did anything wrong?
I didn't think I did anything wrong. I'm sorry to say, if it was a white person, that person was going to be treated differently than me.
You think so?
I think so.
Now he's calling on U.S. Bank to live up to the higher standards it so recently promised.
I think we all have to look within ourselves and see, how, think about how you want to be treated.
A spokesperson with U.S. Bank now says the bank's own internal review found a, quote, inconsistency in how it handles paying out money to customers after they get a wire transfer. Brandy, they added they regret the frustration it caused.
Eric, I know you'll continue to follow this and follow up, tracking the latest, and as part of the reforms U.S. Bank has promised, it launched a new Black community advisory group to try to close the wealth gap in Minnesota. It also helped bring the first Black-owned bank to the Twin Cities. First Independence Bank opened in Minneapolis last month. 5 other major banks, including U.S. Bank, supported the effort sparked after the killing of George Floyd. The CEO of First Independence sat down with Eric shortly before the bank's grand opening.
At the foundational level here, one of the things that we will try to bring to the table is the value of trust. When you're trusting of someone, you don't have to go immediately to suspicion.
And state investigators say that same kind of suspicion is still a factor in too many interactions between people of color and police.
For years, Black people have been treated just like that.
Coming up, the mother of Philando Castile reacts to video of another Black driver held at gunpoint when race reform reality continues.
A Cup of Joe with the Morning Show.
What I always loved about reporting is the human connection. And I think everyone has a story to tell. And I think it's just a matter of finding that.
She truly believes that what she's doing is very important. And the way we say things is very important. A consummate professional journalist.
She is your go-to in the morning when you want to know what's happening, why is this important, and how is it going to impact my day.
Have your coffee with us tomorrow morning.
Ford Edge impresses with savvy street smarts, lots of tech, and you know what? Go shop this SUV at the auto show.
It's auto show time. The best time to buy a Ford SUV with on-the-go connectivity, tech to help you drive confidently, flexibility for cargo and crew, plus special auto show offers to help you bring one home today. For a limited time, get up to $1,500 retail order bonus cash on select vehicles, and thank you for making Ford the best-selling brand in the Twin Cities region.
We have a long history of moving sports forward. And this next step is our biggest yet. Introducing the House of Sport. New experiences, new services, a new place to call home. Dick's House of Sport. A grand opening, 73 years in the making.
45TV has the hoops, the high flyers, and the huge shots. The hope, the hat tricks.
Back here comes Bumpin again.
And the hometown heroes.
Strumis inside the 10, trying to will his way into the end zone. They haven't got him down yet. Touchdown. And Hockeytown is title town once again. The shot, rebound, scores!
High school sports is on 45TV.
By 10, you've seen the headlines, so we're diving into what they all mean.
On Nightcast, there's a team taking the time to tell important stories every night, cutting no corners by talking to real people.
To earn these is a big thing.
And getting to the heart of what's at stake on both sides.
For the parent, it's really peace of mind.
The 10 o'clock news is important to us, and our team is here to help you better understand it.
Now that's what Nightcast is all about. See for yourself weeknights at 10 o'clock.
Welcome back to Race Reform Reality. Body-worn cameras have given us an unfiltered view of police interactions with people they're sworn to serve. Earlier this year, our Kirsten Swanson reported on a traffic stop involving a Black driver that seems all too familiar for people in Minnesota.
As Janice Hodge drove through northeast Minneapolis in July 2019, she saw red and blue flashing lights in her rear view mirror just after 6 o'clock.
I just thought it was going to be a regular routine stop.
Minneapolis Park Police Officer Calvin Pham's body-worn camera started rolling as he walked up to her driver's side door.
If it
driver's license, proof of insurance, please?
Can I ask why you're pulling me over?
Yes, two reasons. One, you have your phone in your hand.
Yep, because I'm using my GPS to drop my food off.
Yep, and then when I drove past you, didn't have your seatbelt on.
Because my seatbelt, I wear it like this.
Yeah, which is incorrect. So could I have your driver's license,
but my seatbelt is on, so long as it's buckled, I can...
Hodge continued to defend the way she wore the seatbelt.
Because I always ride my seatbelt like this, and I've never gotten a ticket for this, even though I've been pulled over.
Could I please have your driver's license, please?
Around 30 seconds into the stop, she reached for her purse.
Sat it on my lap between me and the steering wheel, reached into my purse and pulled my wallet out.
As Hodge searched for her license, she called her husband.
Hold on, this guy just pulled me over for using my GPS. And I said, this police officer just pulled me over for using my GPS.
And just as she's about to hand her license to Officer Pham,
Let me ask you something. Can you turn your car off, please?
Why do I need to turn my car
off? Turn it off. Step out of the vehicle right now. Step out of the vehicle right now. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Put your hands up.
this happened just 60 seconds after he first approached the car.
I didn't even have my driver's license out of the sleeve, and I had a gun pointed at my head. I was confused and scared, and I didn't know what was going on.
Step out of the car. Out the window. Yep. Take off your seatbelt. Take off your seatbelt.
Officer Pham held his gun up against his chest. Dash camera video shows a man who appeared to be on a citizen ride-along looked on as Pham reached into the car, pulled Hodge's purse from her lap, and threw it to the side.
Hey, step out of the car. Can you hold on. Just calm down. Calm yourself down.
Step out.
Calm yourself down.
Step out of the car.
Calm down.
Step out of the car.
Calm yourself down.
Step out of the car now. I will rip you out if you do not step out of the car now. Step out of the car right now.
Why?
Step out of the car because I'm giving you a lawful order to step out.
Okay, my attorney's on the phone. What'd you say?
I'm gonna rip you out of the car then.
What'd you say, babe? He's threatening to touch me.
Officer Pham called for backup over his radio as Hodge tried to tell her husband where she was.
I'm at
Put your hands up. Put your hands up.
I'm at Northeast. Can I get it? I don't have
out of the car.
I don't have anything. Why are you pointing the gun at me?
Step out.
Hodge stepped out of her car, and Officer Pham pushed her to the ground and held her face down on the pavement.
No, you stop.
Put your hands behind your back. For what? Put your hands behind your back. What? Put your hands behind your back now.
What did I do to, cause this reaction from him?
What do you think it was?
I have no idea. I can't answer a question for someone else and what was going through their head, so.
Sir, what did I do for this?
In his incident report, Officer Pham wrote when Hodge opened up her wallet, he saw a card that appeared to be a Minnesota permit to carry, and he believed that Janice may have a gun. Hodge says she does have a valid permit to carry, but didn't have her gun with her that day.
You didn't see a firearm. You didn't ask if I had a firearm. You just reacted to something that you seen in my wallet.
Officer Pham's reaction reminded Hodge of another case involving a black driver in Minnesota who had a permit to carry.
I have to tell you, I do have a firearm on me.
Don't reach for it then.
Philando Castile shot and killed just a few miles away from where Hodge was held at gunpoint.
That was the first thing that ran through my mind, unfortunately, at the time, yes, that I'm going to die the same way that this young man died.
I know at that very moment, she thought about my son.
After Officer Geronimo Yanez was acquitted for shooting and killing her son, Valerie Castile began fighting for police reform in Minnesota and across the country.
For years, black people have been treated just like that.
Castile agreed to watch the footage from Hodge's stop.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
She pointed out Hodge's hands are through the sunroof.
At that moment, you'd be scared to even move for the seatbelt, because he'll swear to God she was reaching for the gun.
We also showed the video to retired Chicago Police Commander Mark Buslick, who spent 39 years in law enforcement.
Tell me just a little bit about your impressions of the video.
There's really two things going on here. Her refusal to comply, and then the officer escalating the incident when I don't think it needed to be at that point.
Did you see a threat?
I did not see a threat, no. But again, my perspective was that of a body camera in the middle of the officer's chest.
Remember, Officer Pham wrote in his report that he saw what appeared to be a Minnesota permit to carry, but made no mention of seeing a gun.
Do you still think he should have pulled a firearm on this driver?
I did not see an immediate threat. The more appropriate response would have been, ma'am, do you have a firearm with you?
Where's the threat to pull your firearm out?
It's difficult for Hodge to watch this video, not only because of what she went through, but also because Hodge says she can't help but think of other black drivers out on the road right now.
You never know when it's your turn.
Last fall, the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board paid Hodge $100,000 to settle her civil rights lawsuit. Even after that settlement, leaders from the park board and the park police have repeatedly refused to be interviewed, Brandy. Instead, they said in a statement, quote, the settlement speaks for itself.
And Kirsten, walk us through what happened to Officer Pham.
Well, he resigned a month after that settlement was approved. In fact, this separation form doesn't give the reason why. Pam's first personnel file also doesn't include any mention of that traffic stop. He was never disciplined for his conduct.
And Kirsten, we know this is just one case. We have been looking into incidents like this for years. We found not only are officers rarely disciplined, many times they're never even investigated. Late last year, our Ryan Ray showed us the troubling allegations that have been ignored by Internal Affairs. Ryan.
Yeah, Brandy, we found this pattern last summer of officers accused of excessive force and then never investigated, even when it was broadcast on national TV.
There is some action behind you.
This moment played out on live television around the globe.
One person being arrested here.
CNN correspondent Omar Jimenez had been reporting on the protests and riots that engulfed the Twin Cities after a white police officer knelt on a black man's neck.
Put us back where you want us. We are getting out of your way.
That morning, he was trying to show the world the widespread. Watched a black journalist being escorted away in handcuffs. Walls apologize.
I take full responsibility. There is absolutely no reason something like this should happen.
But it appears that's where the responsibility ended. Recently filed court records revealed that the troopers who arrested the CNN crew were never disciplined. In fact, they never even faced an investigation from the agency's Internal Affairs Division. Commissioner of the State Patrol, John Harrington, testified this summer that, quote, when I found that there was no complaint lodged by CNN, I didn't pursue the matter further than that. So despite being broadcast on national TV and a public apology from the governor, the State Patrol never investigated. And while that seemed like a stunning admission, it's actually part of a larger pattern in Minnesota. 5 Investigates recently analyzed every excessive force lawsuit that was settled with insurance money from the League of Minnesota Cities over the last 5 years. Our review identified nearly 30 officers who were never investigated by Internal Affairs, even when their cases led to 6-figure payouts.
I'm appalled, but not surprised.
John McClellan and Simon Troutman started the Minnesota Justice Coalition after the murder of George Floyd. Its mission? Reform the police.
A complaint is a complaint, whether it's filed in the court or whether it's filed at the law enforcement office.
You cannot hold officers accountable if you don't investigate them.
Is there a responsibility for the city to go back and look at it?
Look, I think any agency today, and has been for several years, takes those allegations of misconduct very seriously. I can't think of any agencies that would just dismiss that.
But we can. Our investigation found officers who were never investigated after being named in lawsuits that resulted in nearly $3.5 million in settlements. Those payouts range from a few $1,000s to a few $100,000.
I think it's important to know that the costs of these lawsuits, and the longer they go, that at some point they have to make a decision about settling the case to stop those costs from increasing, and that shouldn't always indicate that there was wrongdoing by the officer.
But even in this case, where a Mankato officer was accused of snapping a man's wrist in 2019, records show the officer never faced an Internal Affairs investigation, despite a nearly $300,000 settlement.
There's a tremendous amount of pressure internally within the department to stick up for your fellow officer.
Chicago civil rights attorney Matt Pierce says he watched police look the other way for years.
There is this culture that encourages misconduct and encourages cover-up.
Pierce sees this from both sides. Once the city's head of litigation, he used to defend Chicago police from the same type of lawsuits he now files against them.
When the lawsuit gets filed, the administrative investigation either slows down or stops. Do we want to shoot ourselves in the foot by revealing that our own officers engaged in misconduct?
But he believes there is an obligation to investigate.
If you're just tuning in,
especially when it's on live TV,
or watching our correspondent, Omar Jimenez, being arrested.
In a well-run system, you look at the videotape, you trigger your own internal investigation.
Now, the head of the State Patrol also admitted in court that he never bothered to go back and watch the video that you just saw. And Brandy, there's a common explanation we frequently hear. If there's no official complaint, then there's no official investigation.
And Ryan, failing to hold officers accountable for misconduct is one of the key findings in a years-long investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department. In April, the Minnesota Department of Human Rights found officers are not consistently held accountable for misconduct. The report said people of color are hurt most by this lack of oversight. And the calls for better oversight go beyond the Minneapolis Police Department, but in some cases, those attempts failed. I want to bring back now our Kirsten Swanson to talk more about that traffic stop, Kirsten, of Janice Hodge.
So, Brandy, after reporting on that case, I found efforts to change policing within the Minneapolis Park Police Department fell flat. This body camera video of a routine traffic stop involving a Minneapolis Park police officer led to a six-figure settlement late last year.
Let me ask you something. Can you turn your car off, please?
Why do I need to turn my car
Turn it off. Step out of the vehicle right now. Step out of the vehicle right now. Put your hands on me.
A settlement Londell French voted to approve.
Because I kept asking, can I see the tape?
But the former Park Board commissioner says he didn't see the video of Janice Hodge
Step out of the vehicle right now. Put your hands on me. Put your hands on me.
until we showed it to him.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That was really rough to watch.
Yeah.
It looked like from your reaction.
Yeah. It's tough to know that, you were the official that was in charge of that organization that happened under. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to process this right now. So.
First elected in 2017, French saw an opportunity to re-examine the role of police in one of the most unique park systems in the country.
I really thought, since the police department was such a small police department, that you can have some real incremental changes.
The calls for change intensified in the summer of 2018 when park police officers handcuffed 4 unarmed Somali-American teenagers and held them at gunpoint near Minnehaha Falls.
We got 4 at gunpoint.
The case led to a civil rights lawsuit that the park board ultimately settled for $170,000. The board also created the Park Police Governance, Operations, and Oversight Committee.
What were the goals of that committee?
I think my goal, what I thought it would be, was to have oversight and discipline officers who weren't doing the job properly. That's what I thought it was going to be.
What did it, in your view, end up being?
Not that. Not that.
Records reviewed by 5 Investigates show the committee held only 5 meetings in 2 years. We repeatedly requested interviews with the park police chief and the superintendent to ask why the committee never heard about incidents involving use of force like this.
Don't touch me.
Chief Ohato. Hi, Kirsten Swanson from 5 Investigates. During a park board meeting, we tried again to get answers from the park police chief himself.
I believe our communications staff has provided you a written statement.
Yeah, it doesn't answer a lot of the questions that we had, though, and I'm really interested in getting kind of your perspective of how things went. So,
I would encourage you to submit your questions to communications.
okay, I did. And again, just very interested in hearing from you and your perspective as far as what the oversight looked like.
Again, please speak to our communications staff.
Okay, is there any reason why you're not willing to talk to us about some of these things?
Our protocol is that media requests are handled through communications.
But that communications department would only say in an email that the special committee's existence ended in 2020, 2 years after the incident at Minnehaha Falls, 1 year after the traffic stop involving Janice Hodge, and just as the global movement to reform police began. But it wasn't the only effort at reform that failed.
Community oversight groups can be helpful if they are given teeth to make change.
Sheila Nazad was one of 7 citizens appointed to the Park Police Advisory Council that also dissolved in 2020.
We made requests for things like the release of officer discipline data so we could look through that. Those requests were denied. We made requests for things like hosting community listening sessions. Those requests were denied. We got all the glowing stories, but we never heard about the times that Park Police had harmed citizens.
Nazad said the oversight intended to make sure cases like this don't happen ended up contributing to an all too familiar cycle.
Police violence leads to public outrage, leads to calls for reform, leads to lack of meaningful change and distraction, and then the cycle continues.
As we reported this story over the course of several months, Brandy, I think what stood out most to me was that the board listened to the community. They put these reforms in place, but then abandoned those efforts without anyone really noticing until we started digging into this history.
Well, and Kirsten, you know, as we found, many of those reforms demanded over the last 2 years have not become a reality. We go back now to our Ryan Raish, who tells us about a for-profit company that is paid to write policies for police departments all across the state, a company critics say is a powerful roadblock to reform.
This is Lexipol.
Gordon Graham here with today's tip from Lexipol. And today's tip is for my cop friends.
The little-known Texas-based company helping police officers across the country and Minnesota through training webinars like this one.
I don't understand why cops have this inherent need to take bloody photographs of suspects after they get in a fight or whatever with a bad guy.
That's Lexipol's co-founder, Bruce Prayett, in 2019, offering tips on how to write more effective police reports.
You guys are taking photos of this guy when they look like their face has been through a meat grinder, their white shirt is crimson red, and you're snapping color pictures. Stop it. Clean them up.
Clean them up, he said. Prayett was advising police officers on how to protect their departments, his clients, from costly legal settlements.
There's a simple formula. You all need to commit this to memory. Red turns to green at the time of trial. If there's blood in the photo, you are going to pay money. Clean them up.
Have you heard that before? I've never heard that before, and I would be very surprised if that was accurate and in context.
Do you think that's out of context?
To change evidence? Yeah, I mean, or again, I would wonder what the context was of that.
Kelly McCarthy is the chief of the Mendota Heights Police Department, one of Lexipol's many customers in Minnesota.
They provide the technical format and the backdrop for all of our policy.
The company bills itself as the leading provider for police policies and training across the country.
Well, any decision that they make is going to have an outsized influence.
And that influence keeps growing, according to Professor Joanna Schwartz at the UCLA School of Law.
Lexipol is not operating with transparency.
Last year, her research concluded Lexipol has become one of the most powerful voices pushing against reform.
This relatively small, invisible private company is writing police policies for more than 3,500 police agencies across the United States.
With Minnesota becoming the epicenter for police reform efforts after the death of George Floyd, Dante Wright, and now Amir Locke. We wanted to know just how much influence does this for-profit company from Texas have on law enforcement in our state? Lexipol declined our repeated requests for an on-camera interview. They also refused to answer questions about how much business the company does here. So 5 Investigates spent months requesting contracts and invoices from Mankato to Moorhead, Waite Park to Woodbury. Those records show more than 130 agencies are paying Lexipol millions, including half of the state's largest police departments and 82 out of 87 sheriff's offices. Over the past 3 years, they paid Lexipol more than $2.2 million.
That's a very cheap insurance policy for me to have.
Dakota County Sheriff Tim Leslie sits on Lexipol's Law Enforcement Advisory Council.
It's been just nothing but good love here with Lexipol, and frankly, I'm surprised more agencies aren't part of it.
What do you say to advocates or reform advocates who say that Lexipol is resistant to reform?
I've never felt that. Never felt it once.
Leslie is convinced the updates he gets from Lexipol on a regular basis is the most efficient way to keep his rules up to date and protects the county from large legal settlements.
I would put $100 on the table that a similarly sized organization without Lexipol has paid out more than I have.
And I think that's so incredibly problematic.
That's why advocates like Michelle Gross with Communities United Against Police Brutality are so critical of Lexipol's influence.
Just a ploy to reduce liability on the part of the departments.
Now, remember what Bruce Prayett said.
Red turns to green at the time of trial.
Some materials even recommended officers clean up blood to make victims appear less injured in pictures for the jury. That's coming from Lexipol.
For a corporation to tell police this is how you can lower your liability by cleaning up evidence is really wrong.
Lexipol is now downplaying Bruce Prayett's role in the company that he started. In a statement, the company says that while Prayett is the co-founder and board member, he is not an employee, nor is he involved in authoring policy content. A company spokesperson added that Lexipol continues to support recent police reform efforts. Since the death of George Floyd 2 years ago, Lexipol says it has updated numerous policies to align with police reform issues. We have found in recent months the company has removed some training from its website.
Clean them up and get them smiling for the picture.
But this one from its co-founder is still out there for any officer to see.
Get them smiling, pointing to their oh-so-painful injuries. We use that in court later. It is good stuff. Send me copies. I'm going to publish a book. Stupid People Hurt by Cops. We're all going to make $1 million.
A company spokesman told 5 Investigates that when viewed in its entirety, Prayett's webinar encouraged officers to provide the clearest possible view of what happened when writing police reports. And about a week later, Brandy, the company pulled that webinar from their website.
Ryan, so much revealed here. So where do we go from here? Coming up, 4 Minnesotans offer their perspectives and solutions on race, reform, and reality in Minnesota.
For commercial roofing, just say Sella.
My experience with Sella has been excellent.
They exceeded our expectations.
Whatever they said they'd do, they did. Their work has held up over the years.
The communication was the thing that just blew me away, and they were very attentive to our specific needs.
They've really just done a terrific job for us over the years, and I've been delighted with their service.
The quality of the work was outstanding.
Highly recommend them.
Where to go? We are at the top of the Radisson Hotel in Duluth, where there is new life.
Franconia Sculpture Park, it's always changing, so anytime you come, you're going to see something new.
Know where to go. Watch Minnesota Live, weekday mornings at 9.
It's time to hit the road and get away.
5 Eyewitness News wants to ease your pain at the pump. Watch weekday mornings for your chance to win a tank of gas and more. Just look for the QR code to enter. Get Away a Day is presented by the Minnesota Lottery.
Ford Edge impresses with savvy street smarts, lots of tech, and you know what? Go shop this SUV at the auto show.
It's auto show time. The best time to buy a Ford SUV with on-the-go connectivity, tech to help you drive confidently, flexibility for cargo and crew, plus special auto show offers to help you bring one home today. For a limited time, get up to $1,500 retail order bonus cash on select vehicles. And thank you for making Ford the best-selling brand in the Twin Cities region.
Now, with so much hope for a brighter tomorrow filled with sunshine, it's time to
rise and shine.
And we're celebrating by hitting the road.
Let's do it.
Traveling all across the country.
Oh my God.
Rise and shine. Rise and shine. Let it shine.
Let it shine.
Shine. Yes, it's time to celebrate and smile with It's ABC's Good Morning America's Great Rise and Shine Tour.
A Cup of Joe with the Morning Show.
Matt has an endless amount of energy that's a compliment because he comes in and he's revved up and he's ready to go.
Matt's a serious journalist, but behind the scenes, he's really a funny guy. We get each other in a way where if one of us stops talking, the other knows, okay, boom, we're gonna pick it back up.
He's looking at scripts and he's discussing what the reporters are doing. He's very involved in the process.
Have your coffee with us tomorrow morning.
Race, reform, reality. In 2 years, is reality all that different than it was before the murder of George Floyd and after so many calls for change? I'm joined now by 4 Minnesotans to get their perspectives and solutions. Dr. Keith Mays, University of Minnesota professor of African American and African Studies. Laverne McCartney-Knighton, the region's area development director for UNCF, the United Negro College Fund. Felicia Perry, business and commercial real estate manager with Partnership in Property Commercial Land Trust. And Dr. Uhuru Williams, founding director of the Racial Justice Initiative at the University of St. Thomas. And tonight together, we've all been taking a look back. Now we want to look forward. Felicia, some of your work is really focused on transforming vital communities, corridors, and moving them into really thriving spaces. In our Banking While Black reporting, how do you see the acknowledgement of wrongdoing and the formation of an advisory group affecting Black businesses and Black neighborhoods?
Well, that's a really great question, Brandy. I think about how important of a step it is to acknowledge wrongdoing and even to create a space where you're listening to folks about what's happening. But I don't see it actually changing anything in Black neighborhoods or for Black businesses at this point. There's a lot of like deep-rooted institutional systemic-wide in banking and the financial institutions, like racism that's just kind of embedded in the culture. And I don't think that an acknowledgement after years and years of folks being really clear about what's happening to us, and all kinds of other groups have already been meeting and advocating and offering different types of solutions, that just some words or lip service is going to change what my life or the banking life looks like for me or my neighbors.
Well, I wonder, with that perspective, Dr. Williams, what do you think might be some long-lasting solutions then to this problem?
Well, clearly, Brandy, training is not enough. We saw a lot of corporations, banks included, in the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd, taking on implicit bias training. The reality is our community needs education. We need an investment in K-12, so we're raising the next generation of young people to understand that diversity is a strength and not to treat people in the way that we saw. And the packages you shared this evening, training is a short stopgap measure. Education is really what we need in this community to really encourage the type of deep understanding and recognition of human dignity that can change our community.
I wonder, our reporting shows a Black driver held at gunpoint, and our reporting is really raising some new concerns about how police officers are interacting with legal gun owners. And Felicia, I want to bring it back to you. You say you own a firearm, you can legally carry, conceal and carry. What's your perspective on that?
Ooh, that segment is very difficult to watch. It's scary, it's traumatizing. I feel it in my body. And as someone who, like you said, owns a firearm and I can legally, I'm exercising my constitutional right, and I'm doing it legally, and knowing that all of this process and this system that I've gone to even obtain my conceal and carry permit, that this permit is now a target on my back because I have Black skin versus being, a protection and proof that I've done what I was supposed to be doing as far as being able to own and carry a firearm.
So let's talk about a new report. We know in April, the Minnesota Department of Human Rights found that Minneapolis Police Department engages in a pattern or practice of race discrimination. There is now some skepticism about some of those findings. I wonder, Dr. Mays, what do you think, how do you think that this skepticism could potentially impact what's next?
I think the skepticism is a red herring. It's misplaced. It's designed in many ways to undermine the report, a great report, in the sense that it documents all of the abuses that the Minneapolis Police Department had been engaged in for years. I mean, this goes back 20 plus years. It's not the first study that was done, but I think to use the social media issue as a way to discount it, as a way to not engage in the necessary reforms that the report is calling for, I think is disingenuous. It is designed to keep the status quo in place. We should not focus on those red herrings. We should not focus on the skepticism or the issues that are being brought forward by the city attorneys.
So, Laverne, what are your views? Let's bring you in. What stands out to you about what should happen moving forward with this kind of reform?
Well, you know, Brandy, my concerns have been that, you know, we've talked about reform, we've talked about the need for internal changes within the system. We talked about training and all those things that are needed. And to Dr. Mays' point, the status quo still remains. And I honestly feel like accountabilities are really going to have to be enforced, reinforced, and accountability from all sides. Accountability within the system, accountabilities within the police force, accountabilities within our communities where we are the most impacted by the crimes that are committed and by police's reaction to them. So we just got to really continue to be open and continue to talk about the issues that need to be changed.
And by we, you mean black people.
Black people,
of color.
white, our white colleagues, our white...
Everybody.
Everybody needs to be talking. This is just not an us issue.
Right.
It is for the community at large. Everybody needs to be engaged with these conversations.
Absolutely. You know, our reporting that you all saw tonight, it also revealed if no formal complaint is filed, it doesn't matter if there's a big lawsuit, a big settlement, that an internal investigation would not happen. So, Laverne, I'm wondering, you know, if that is the case, if that continues to be the case, where do you think the public, whether it's youth or adults, really goes from here in terms of action for reform that is being called for?
Well, we have to push and continue to push for change. We have to continue to ask for transparency in the things that are going on when no formal complaints are made. Find out, you know, be more, I guess, engaged in learning why not, and being more, as citizens, involved with what our systems are telling us. Do not take the simple answer as the only answer. To learn that, you know, no investigation happened because no complaint was made, that's not good enough.
I want to take you back now to part of our reporting. This was on police interactions with people of color. One person we spoke with, you heard earlier in our broadcast, say, quote, police violence leads to public outrage, leads to calls for reform, leads to lack of meaningful change and distraction, and the cycle continues, she said. I wonder, Dr. Mays, how do you think this cycle could be broken?
You have to actually do what the reports and federal agencies and state agencies say that needs to be done. I mean, so the pattern or practice investigations will lead to consent decrees, which means that you have a certain kind of federal oversight and court monitoring that suggests that these are the things we want Minneapolis Police Department to do. It will be all spelled out once that consent decree is agreed to and adhered to, and we have to start there. So if the leaders of the city, mayor, city council folk, as well as the leaders of the Minneapolis Police Department, if they cannot do what is called for in that consent decree, then they are not being the leaders that they have been elected to do. So the question becomes, should we call for other kinds of reforms? Should we look at other models in other cities? Should we call for abolition? Should we put abolition on the table? So there are many ways in which police departments can go, even without the consent decree. They could look at Camden, New Jersey. They could look at Ithaca, New York. There are other models out there of policing.
Other models across the country.
Yeah,
I wonder,
absolutely.
you know, Felicia, you said just moments ago after watching all of these stories, you said this was tough to watch. You know, what do you think in terms of these cycles being broken?
I think it's going to be really important if the cycles are going to be broken. As we said, this acknowledgement, right, a very important step. And then there's got to be some real tangible action behind that. As the other panelists have mentioned, there have been recommendations that have already come out. There are different things that people are advocating for. So we're beyond this thing of just acknowledging that you did a bad thing. The system there's a lot of trust that's been lost in this system by Black folks, and the onus really should be on the system to rebuild that trust. And in any of our relationships, when we're trying to build trust, there's a series of actions, and it's ongoing, and understanding that if you've harmed someone, it is your responsibility to correct that harm. And so as long as the idea is that Black people have to do something about the injustices enacted upon us, then the cycle will never be broken. That's really a part of the cycle, is to blame Black folks for what's happening to us.
I wonder, you know, Laverne, you're a leader with youth, you're a leader with adults. Felicia just talked about those injustices. What do you tell people about those, whether they're young or your counterparts, in terms of hope moving forward, and what action steps that you would want to see regarding injustices?
Well, I tell them that we as a collective will have to get through this, but we as a collective will have to keep talking. We'll have to keep being informed, insisting on, you know, knowing and getting involved. Go to the polls, vote, let your voices be heard, get involved with local politics, get involved with all that's going on in your community. Don't wait for things to happen to you. Be the change that you want to see happen and enforce that, you know, be out front.
Dr. Williams, what are those best solutions then, long-lasting? Because some people say, well, there's, you know, not always a quick fix. As you look broadly, in your estimation, what can be done to move the reforms that are being called for forward?
I think vigilance is key. I think it's also important for us to recognize, you know, William Dean House famously said, Americans always want a tragedy with a happy ending. But the reality is that the murder of George Floyd, or better yet, the Chauvin trial, was not the ending. It's just the beginning. This is the on-ramp to deep work we need to do in community to really do the work of transforming who we are. Jerry Blackwell famously at the close of the Chauvin trial talked about this bouquet of humanity that showed up to plead for George Floyd's life. The reality is that we all need to look at that and recognize we need to be that bouquet of humanity. It takes a village. We're the village. So what commitments can we make today to improving housing, education, access to places of public accommodation, the social determinants of health, and other things which create disparities for communities of color in our community? That's what it means to be the bouquet.
Thank you. Thank you all for participating in this really important discussion. And thank you for joining us tonight for our 5 Eyewitness News report, our special report on race, reform, and reality, as we work to continue adding context to this conversation about what's happening in all of our communities. To see more of 5 Investigates original reporting, go to KSTP.com. I'm Brandy Powell. Good night.